I feel like at this point you could take out most of the rest of the other characters and just give me stories about Daryl, Carol, and Negan. The dynamic between those three is just a comedic goldmine. Well, what's up guys, Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 13, What We Become. So I did know at some point that there is a spin-off series involving Michonne and Rick, and so whenever this episode came to an end, Michonne's leaving to go after him, I just had to check and see if this is the episode that builds to that, and it does seem like it is, so I guess this is going to be Michonne's last episode, and we won't see her again, which I think is kind of crazy considering Judith is still going to be around. Her mom and father are both just gone, left her all alone, with RJ as well. And I know Daryl, as I said before, Daryl's kind of becoming the Rick character, so he is essentially going to be probably a father figure for both of them. But it still just feels weird that this is how her story ends on the show. At least I think. I don't think she and Rick show up at the end of the show. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I heard that this is it. Like, their story continues in their spin-off show. And as it is, this episode's fine. I think Virgil's story, it started pretty well, but then once he turned on Michonne and once he gave her the hallucinatory drug, we learn a bit more about his story. I kind of lost a bit of interest. Like, I understand he went crazy after losing his family, but I definitely felt more sympathy for him before the turn on Michonne. Like, seeing what he had to go through, seeing what happened with his family. I mean, that one shot of them walking into the room with all the chairs on the floor with people hanging and his family being amongst those people. It's a sad story and it sucks. And to see him witness that, and maybe he already knew that this is what happened. He'd already seen them somehow. But to know that all these people just decided better to take ourselves out rather than be ripped to shreds by these things outside. It's a dark story. And again, I felt sympathy for him. But then as soon as he turned on Michonne, as soon as he drugged her, I just kind of lost interest. Because honestly, it made me feel like we're just doing Morgan's story again with Virgil instead. And even within that, Michonne's hallucination, I just think took too long. I understood where they were going with it. It was an interesting concept. Her getting to witness this alternate life she could have lived if she had just not helped anybody, if she had tried to go on her own, where she would have ended up. It was kind of cool to see all of that. However, I think they just took too much time in some of the scenes. Yes, some of the shots were cool. They did a good job of reshooting some of these scenes because obviously a lot of these actors probably wouldn't have returned just for one episode and just to recreate some of these scenes. So I'm assuming they shot it in some way where they were able to put her in the scene digitally. And honestly, it looked real. It didn't look like it was digitally altered. So I thought that was impressive. However, those scenes still went on too long. Like going back to the first scene with Negan, and he's doing his eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then he hands it off to her, then she gives them a little speech. I think the concept was done well from the get-go. So you really just have to cut to a couple of those scenes and just show us quick clips and then move on. So to spend a lot of time in some of these scenes, just kind of felt like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is what could have happened. This is where she could have been. But with that being said, I do think it does play into her final decision very well. Her decision to not kill Virgil for what he did, convincing the other three to not kill him as well. I think that hallucination does play into her motivation for that, and even helping these two random people who are a part of whatever this group of people is. Don't even know how there's such a giant group of people still out there that exists that they haven't run into before. But knowing that hallucination probably had something to do with why she made those decisions, I understand the point of it being here. Like I said, I just think they didn't have to take so much time on some of those scenes. But that's kind of really all there is to talk about. I mean, it's just her getting trapped by Virgil, hallucination scene, getting away, and then finding the stuff from Rick, deciding to go after him. I will also say, I wonder when this is supposed to have happened, because Judith talks about Alpha being gone. So this is clearly after the events of last episode have been revealed to everybody. So I'm curious how long it had been between last episode and now. But again, I'm just kind of put off by the fact that this is Michonne's last episode. It sort of just comes out of nowhere. And yes, it does build up for a spinoff series, and hopefully the spinoff series is good. I'll get to it whenever I get to it. But it does just feel weird that Judith is now essentially kind of alone, outside of having her brother, of course. But the fact that Michonne was just willing to leave her behind like this, yes, it's to go after Rick, but still, it does feel like an odd choice for her. But anyways, those are all my thoughts on this one, so on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 14, Look at the Flowers. So once again, a few different stories going on, but this one's a little bit easier to keep track of. And once again, similar to 2 episodes ago, there's one story that I was not as interested in, and then all the others I found very interesting. So first of all, Ezekiel, Yumiko, Eugene heading to find Stephanie, find this group of people that she seems to be a part of. That was just kind of okay. I like Ezekiel as a character fine, but he definitely has not been his same self for most of the season because of the cancer. So him going off on his own, dealing with some of that sickness, his horse gets bit in the process, so he has to put the horse down, which is obviously very sad as an animal lover. But it's just another episode with this really depressed version of him. And yes, he does finally laugh a bit at the end. Finally does find everything funny. All these walkers that are tied up and dressed as if they are just everyday people interacting in society, which I'm guessing is the work of this girl that shows up at the end. I think her name is Princess, if I remember some of the advertising that I saw around the time these episodes are coming out. I just remember seeing her design and thinking, I don't know how I'm going to feel about her, because the design itself doesn't seem to really fit in this world, so we'll see. We'll see how they handle her and what her whole personality and character is about. But yeah, that story was probably just the least interesting because, again, not having fun watching Ezekiel be this very depressed version of himself. Everything else, though, very interesting. We'll start with Carol since this episode is titled about her story. And I do think this is a good way to show the internal struggle she's going through right now, where obviously she wants to keep people safe, and so going off on her own feels like the best way to do that. But having this alpha speak to her inside of her head kind of shows that there's a part of her that longs to just be done with it. Because if she's not around, then there's no chance of her getting somebody that she loves killed. So it's kind of just that internal battle where she has a couple of chances to just let it go, but she doesn't. She fights back, even this one point where I think she broke her arm or something to get out from under what she was trapped. It not shown very well. You just heard what sounded like some bones cracking. I honestly expected them to show like her hand twisted or something like that. But it just shows that while there is that part of her, there is that voice in her head that's telling her, just let it go. Just be done with it. In the end, she still wants to fight. She still wants to be there to protect the people she loves, even if some of the decisions that she makes might get people killed. I really did like that part of the story. The next part of the story to talk about, which was pretty interesting, was to see what Beta's up to. And I guess this shows where, even though Alpha is gone, he's still the danger. He is still the problem, because the rest of the Whisperers will probably disband. We already saw some of them. They were scared. One guy went running as soon as Beta took the guy's head and had it get chewed off by Alpha, and then they went to Negan to ask him to lead. So they're going to be without a leader, and I don't think any of them really want to lead, and honestly don't want to be a part of this life anymore, more than likely. But Beta is still a problem. Not only is he a brute, but the revenge quest that he's about to be on, to take down the people who took out Alpha. But it also does show that one little scene where the guy saw part of his face and instantly knew who it was. Now he could see why. Him being an artist, I guess it was probably a popular poster of him, was that just half of his face showing. So him using one of his songs to draw all of these walkers in to lead them on one final charge, I think it makes sense for him, and it makes sense for this to be kind of the final fight now that Alpha's out of the picture. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if he's going to go to Alexandria maybe, or to Oceanside, maybe hit both if that's possible. I don't know how that would be possible. But of course, the final story, which was, in my opinion, the most entertaining, was Negan going to where he stored Lydia. Daryl's there, and then everything that happens is just phenomenal. You got him trying to explain to Daryl what happened, Daryl leading him around hand-tied, but then some Whisperers show up, tell Negan he's the new Alpha, give Negan the shotgun, which then he uses to kill them. And the conversation that they have, I think it's fitting. It's not Daryl just instantly going, oh, okay, yeah, Carol let you out to go for Alpha? Sure, we're good, buddy. For one, something that Daryl points out is the attack on Hilltop, it left a lot of kids exposed. I think that's where Negan sort of shuts up a little bit, because he was frustrated, of course, understandably so, with people telling him he did it too slow. And he makes a really good point. He had to make sure that he was on Alpha's good side. He couldn't just go in there, flash his big old smile, and then just instantly kill her. It would take some time. And so that frustration from him is justified. But I think after hearing that kids were put in danger at Hilltop, I think that's where he finally sort of realizes and stops antagonizing Daryl so much. So I really like that conversation between the two of them, because it shows some of the truth about how Negan felt being out there. While he didn't enjoy that lifestyle, I don't think, he does talk about how it felt good to feel like he mattered again. And that makes sense for him because he's been so pointless, really, and Alexandria just being there as a prisoner the whole time. So I don't really know where Negan's story is going to go next. I'm kind of thinking they might give him a little bit more freedom at Alexandria because technically he did help them out. So it's going to be interesting to see him working alongside some of the people. I'm assuming he's not going to get along with everybody, so there will be some friction, of course, but I am curious to see who's willing to give him a chance, who's willing to talk to him and, I guess, treat him with some kindness. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. So 2 more, I think, until we get to the end of this part of the season, I believe. Because the list that I found told me to stop after episode 16 and then go to The World Beyond season 1. So I'm assuming the next 2 episodes are going to possibly wrap up the Whisperer story arc. And it certainly feels like it's coming to an end. Again, Beta's attack with all of these walkers feels like it's going to be the last gasp revenge tour for him. So I do feel like I'm a lot more invested now, which is good because, as I said before, it's kind of losing me a little bit, but now I want to see where the rest of the season's going to go. So those are all of my thoughts, though. So with all that being said, cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. First and foremost, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love having discussions with people, so whatever your thoughts were, whether you agree or disagree with me, please leave them down below. Obviously, no spoilers. Also, if you did find yourself enjoying this review and you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I also have a gaming channel as well as a channel where I talk about soccer, so if you want to give those a follow as well, that would be much appreciated. And lastly, if you want to help me improve upon the quality of these channels, I do have a Patreon. All of this is in the description below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.